Oh, man. What a weekend. What a weekend it has been in the world of sports. Of course, the Lions and the woe that they are after losing to Kansas City. The Browns are... Oh, the Browns. Browns. Jackets find a way to lose the home opener. They lose the home opener. We'll figure out a way. We got to play Colorado tomorrow night. The Walleye are on the road to start the whole month of the rest of October. They're in Indianapolis. Got a chance to see the preseason game Friday night. The Tigers. Oh, the end of the season for the Tigers. And Ohio State beating up Illinois. Notre Dame beating up on North Carolina State. Michigan choking in the Coliseum. I've seen some choke jobs in my days. But what we witnessed this weekend at Dwight L. Perry Stadium was the 90th edition of the Battle of I-75. I'm rocking the burnt orange today. I've been in a good mood all week, ladies and gentlemen. I can't believe it. I honestly can't believe it. You know what? Hit the music, please. Bowling Green keeps the trophy in Wood County. Forward Falcons, fight for victory. Show our spirit, make them fear it, fight for dear BG. Forward Falcons, make the contest key. Hold out our name for our mighty name and win for Bowling Green. BG from a 21-point deficit, getting quote-unquote boat race, scored 28 consecutive points and beat the school up north. Forward Falcons, fight for victory. Show our spirit, make them fear it, fight for dear BG. Forward Falcons, make the contest king. Hold out our fame for our mighty name and win for Bowling Green. Oh yes, Bowling Green, a huge win and takes the Battle of I-75 trophy and keeps it in Wood County. BG, a huge win against the University of Toledo. And with that, I say, I love you guys! And welcome into another edition of All Andy Alfred right here on your exclusive home for me, and that is with the All Andy Alfred Podcast Network. And you are listening to me tonight on a plethora of platforms with the All Andy Alfred Podcast Network, whether it be on Apple Music, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Bleaker, however you listen to our show, wherever and whenever you listen to our podcast. Thank you so much for tuning into the show to hear what's happening in the sports world, as well as what's happening in my everyday life, as well as on YouTube, on our YouTube channel as well, too. So welcome into the show. You can always be a part of our podcast by following us on Twitter. It is at All Andy Alfred. It is at All Andy Alfred, as well as Facebook.com/All Andy Alfred. And welcome to the show today on this math day, the 10th month, the 15th day, 2025. 10 plus 15 is 25. And 25 points was all that, 21 points was all that Toledo could score. As it's now 9:23 p.m. and Toledo sucks. That's correct. 9:23 p.m. on this, the 15th day of October, Toledo sucks. And this was a huge win for the University of Toledo. We're going to get into everything tonight right here on the All Andy Alfred Network. So get your popcorn ready. Get ready to settle down for this one. Of course, we will have our Falcon Friday edition this upcoming Friday for our show. Of course, I've been off the air for a couple weeks been working on some things with yours truly, and we were going to give you guys a full preview of the BG-UT rivalry. I just wasn't getting I didn't really have much of the time to do the podcast with work and with what's happening outside of work and what's happening in my life. So I've had some time to, reflect. Got a chance to go down to Wood County and watch our boys play. Well, I'll get to my take here in just a second. But, yeah, I feel bad that I didn't get a chance to do a show and do a chance to do a full preview of the Battle of I-75. But we come out to the positive end of this. And I know Dennis Alfred, who watches this podcast, my father, who is a huge UT fan, was not happy with the outcome. He's not happy that he's going to have to wear the BG hat at Thanksgiving. I am ecstatic. It was a great day in Wood County. And like I said, we got a lot to get into tonight. Of course, the Jackets coming off their loss on the home opener. Get ready to take on the Colorado Avalanche this upcoming Thursday. We'll preview that matchup. Also, the Walleye on the road to start the season. They're in Indianapolis this upcoming weekend. We'll preview the Walleye, and I got an opportunity to watch the Walleye this past weekend at their exhibition game. We'll talk about that. Also dive into Week 6 in the National Football League and the Lions' woes in Kansas City and the Browns' pathetic performance as well. And we'll get all into that. No Andy rants tonight because we're going to go deep into the Battle of I-75. And that's where we're going to lead off right away. So, oh, baby. Party down on Wooster Street. Break out the flaming Dr. Pepper shots. Oh, baby. Did you ever think you'd see the day that for the first time since 1973, Bowling Green comes back from a 21-point deficit to beat its rival? The last time was done, 1973. Toledo was down Bowling Green was down 18 points to Toledo. Come back from that, and they win. Unbelievable. What a game, what a scene, what a show at Dwight Perry Stadium this weekend. And I got to tell you, I got down there early. Figured the crowds were going to be big, and it was a big crowd. Sold out crowd at Dwight Perry Stadium on Saturday afternoon as the 90th edition of the Battle of I-75 took place. Bowling Green coming into the game, of course, a 10.5-point underdog going into the game on Saturday afternoon. Toledo coming off the huge win the week before against Akron. Bowling Green coming off of the loss against Ohio. Both teams were on the bye the following week and coming into this game. So they had 2 weeks to prepare for this. And I'm just going to tell you straight out, both teams had 2 weeks to prepare for this. And right out the gate, watching this game, I sat with my wife's friends, Angela, who was celebrating her birthday. Happy birthday, Angela. Her boyfriend, Brian, who got the tickets, and Brian's brother, that is a Bowling Green student. So I was figuring that it was going to be a 3-on-1 attack. All three of them were UT people, and I was the Bowling Green guy. I figured I was going to be attacked most of the day. I figured I was going to be attacked most of the night. And I'll just tell you this much. Early on, it felt like I was going to get boat raced. It felt like I was going to get boat raced in this game. And it scared the crap out of me. Especially right out the gate. The big explosive play is Tucker Gleason throws the deep bomb in the game to start it all off. Huge pass to Junior Vandeross for a 39-yard pass play to start the game. And they marched it down the field in 6 plays, 75 yards. in 2 minutes and 57 seconds, and it was a kick. Pardon my language. It was a kick to the dick right off the bat. I felt like at that point Toledo was coming out to honestly slaughter us because of what happened the year before at Toledo. Because if you remember last year, Bowling Green went into Toledo, beat Toledo, and the student body and the fans were all giving it to the Toledo players and the Toledo staff as they were coming off the field, saying "F-U-T, F-U-T," and the student body that traveled from Toledo to Bowling Green was doing that chant again like they were the year before and the year before that when they were in Toledo. They would shout down 1st and 10, UTU no 1st and 10, FBG in their own building. In Bowling Green's own building. It's uncalled for. Absolutely uncalled for. Very, very shocked and very, very surprised at that as well, too. So, Toledo going down the field, scoring 7 points. Bowling Green's first possession, a straight 3-and-out. 3 plays and only 4 yards. It was 7-0. Bowling Green then gives the football back to Toledo. Toledo takes it down the field, and they went for a 4 to down the field to the Bowling Green 27, and they could not convert on the 4th down. It was a turnover downs. And at that point, I felt like maybe we have a little momentum. But then on the other end, Bowling Green gets the football back, and another 3-and-out and a -3. Bowling Green at one point was in negative yardage in the game. Negative yardage in the game. 3-and-out, gives it back to Toledo, and then Toledo then another punch right in the face. 7 plays, 67 yards in 3 minutes and 5 seconds. It was 14-0 Toledo after one period of play. We get into the second quarter. Toledo gets the ball back after yet again another 3-and-out for Bowling Green. It was sputtering. The offense was sputtering in the first quarter. I was honestly saying to myself after one quarter of play being 14-0, I said, it's going to only get worse after here. And it did happen. But the defenses started to show up. Both teams' defenses were there. Toledo's defense was there in the first half. And Bowling Green's defense was there too. Again, a huge play after Bowling Green had 8 play, 33 yards that didn't turn into nothing. They had to punt again. But again, Toledo gets it down to the Bowling Green 2-yard line. On a 4th and goal, Gleason goes to throw it to Connor Jones, and it's incomplete. It's a turnover and downs for Toledo. And you're saying to yourself, oh, well, Bowling Green could have the opportunity. Another 3-and-out. Another punt. And it was not good. And then Toledo gets the ball back and drives it down the field on a 5-play, 43-yard drive. And a minute 55, and it was 21-0. And at that point, I looked at the scoreboard. I said, there's just no way. There was a bit of me that was concerned at this point. I said, we're going to get boat raced. And Bowling Green won the toss and deferred to the second half. So I said to myself, okay, if we get an opportunity, we could take an opportunity and go. And what did we do? We took the opportunity after the touchdown. Great play as Lucius Anderson came into relief. Now, Drew Pine out with the injury. Lucius Anderson getting the official start for the game on Saturday. And he did pretty well on the touchdown drive, a 5-play, 70-yard drive, which turned into really what helped them out was a pass interference call on Andre Fuller, which got down to the Bowling Green 40 to the Toledo 45. And then Lucius Anderson passes it to Cameron Petaway, and he drove it down the field and puts it into the end zone for a touchdown for Bowling Green. Bowling Green gets the touchdown. It's 21-7 at the break. And then the second half begins. And I felt like, I said we could go for a 2-for-1. I was talking to Brian's brother. I said, if we get a 2-for-1 here to start the period, it would be awesome. And we'll be one score down. One score down. halfway at the beginning of the second half. And I'm fine with that. But what happened? A 3-and-out right off the start, only 9 yards and a punt. But then Toledo gets the ball back. They get the first down, but they go and punt. The defenses start showing up. The defense starts chipping away. Another defensive stop by Toledo on a 3-play, 8-yard drive for Bowling Green that ends up with a punt. And then Toledo punts it again. Now, at this point in the game, I'm looking at the scoreboard and I'm saying to myself, we need to get a score to set the tone. Set the tone. And it comes right before the end of the half. As Bowling Green drives it down the field, Anderson throws the pass to Garcia. It's incomplete, but Avery Smith draws the pass interference penalty. 15 yards and a first down. McMillan gets the run. Unfortunately, Bowling Green drew for the offsides penalty, but Anderson takes the ball himself, runs it for 14 yards to get the first down to the Toledo 23. And you're saying to yourself, we got a good drive going here. Anderson then over to Carius Roberts for 15 yards. Gets it down to Toledo 8. And then Lucius Anderson to Jacob Harris on the dime ball. 50-50 ball goes right into the left side corner and drops in for the touchdown. It's 21-14 Bowling Green after 3 quarters of play. Toledo gets the ball back. And the defense shows up. Forces a punt. And Gleason got sacked. I forgot to mention this. Sacked for an 8-yard loss. He goes to Holly. It's incomplete. Gleason then goes to go for the run. The run gets stopped, and he has to punt. And you're saying to yourself, we might have something here. But then this happened. Lucius Anderson gets onto the next snap. And it's intercepted by Braden Ellis at the Toledo 30. And that's when I felt, at that point, that Toledo was going to take it and close the game out. I really did. At that point, I thought it was closeout time. Defense then stood its ground. 3-and-out, -1 yards. Punt back to Bowling Green. Bowling Green then goes a 3-and-out, punts it back. Toledo gets the ball back again, another 3-and-out. It's 21-14 still. And then Bowling Green gets the ball back. At the 7:42 mark of the fourth quarter, McMillan gets caught for the loss. But then RJ Garcia, on the flea flicker, Anderson gives it to Garcia. Garcia throws the dime ball. The dime ball to Cameron Petaway and breaks away into the end zone for a touchdown for Bowling Green. And from 21-0 down, Bowling Green ties the football game. Bowling Green then punts the football. It's recovered at the Toledo 6. At the Toledo 4. And then the history was made. Gleason gets hit by Miles Bradley. Fumbles the football. And it's recovered by Isaiah Thompson. For Bowling Green. Now they reviewed the play. I felt like he was in the end zone. He was not in the end zone. He was down at the 1. Gives it right up to McMillan for the touchdown. And from 21-0 down, Bowling Green takes the 28-21 lead. And at that point, the crowd was loud. The crowd was raucous. The crowd was on Bowling Green's side. Bowling Green gives the football back to Toledo. A 60-yard kick returned to the 18, to the Toledo 23. Chainham, or another run, another completion runs. And then Gleason tries to find Travion Rudolph. It is incomplete. Toledo gets called with a false start penalty. 5-yard penalty. And then they get caught again with another false start penalty. It's now 3rd and 11. And Toledo punts the football. Bowling Green gets the football and they run a 4-play, 16-yard drive. And timeout was called by Toledo. Toledo got caught. Bowling Green got then called for the delay of game to punt the football. Drove it down to about the Toledo 49, and they were called with the delay of game penalty. They punt the football, and what is now being called the butt interception happens on the drive. It starts with Gleason to Travion Rudolph for 6 yards. Gleason passes, it's incomplete, but then Bowling Green hurls Isaiah Thompson for a penalty for a pass interference, which takes it from the Toledo 33 to the Toledo 48. First down. And then that led to the 2-minute warning. Trainham then gets the ball. He loses 2 yards on the play. Gleason then finds Junior Vanderross for a 17-yard pass. It's first down to the Bowling Green 37. Candle then again runs the ball for 5 yards with 1:36. He needs a touchdown. With 1:12, Gleason goes under snap, tries to find Trainham. Incomplete. It's 2nd and 5. And then with 1:06 to go in regulation in the game, Gleason goes back, finds MJ Cannon for the tip ball. It gets tipped in the air. Both guys are going for it. It lands on Cannon's backside, on his butt. It's still a live ball. Bowling Green picks it up on his butt, and it's an interception. With 1:06 to go, Bowling Green gets the football back. McMillan gets the run to the Bowling Green 25. Timeout, Toledo. Anderson runs for the loss. It's 2 yards, 40 seconds to go. It's 3rd and 7 with 40 seconds to go. They run the clock down to 6 seconds. Bowling Green takes the delay of game penalty. And on 4th and 6, Anderson takes the ball and runs it into the back of the end zone for a 23-yard loss. A safety. But it's not enough points. And for the first time since 2007 to 2009, the Bowling Green State University football team beats Toledo in back-to-back years by the score of 28-23. The series is now tied. The series, I repeat again, the series is now tied going into the 91st matchup next season at the Glass Bowl. What a game it was, and that recaps the game in its entirety. I just couldn't believe it. And I have a couple takeaways from the game. One, I was very, very upset with the students at this game. There was not a lot of noise, not a lot of chatter, and both general admission sections, for the student spot where the students are sitting at, and on the opposite side, they put more students over on that other side, and they were quiet as ever. I don't understand. When I was a student at Bowling Green, it was loud. We were loud for every play, especially in this rivalry game. And they were quiet. The only loud part of the game for them was when they were doing the YMCA. I couldn't believe it. I really couldn't believe it. Number two, the amount that the community came out for these two schools, absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing with it. And number three, the fact that Eddie George gets his first MAC win against Toledo. His first MAC win against Toledo. His first win of the rivalry. And he started it with a freshman quarterback. And Gleason, who has been the quarterback since 2019, started the game against Bowling Green in 2019. He is 1-4 against Bowling Green. He lost in 2019, won in 2020, lost in 2021, won in 2022. So he's 2-4. 2-4 against the Bowling Green State University Falcons. And yet again, I bring it back again. I'm hearing all the questions about Jason Candle now. All the questions. And it really gets me. It really gets me to ask the question, is Candle the right man for the job? And we got a 6 minute, so I'm going to play it for you. The post game from Jason Candle's post game, and I will also play Eddie George's post game comments for you guys here in just a second. And you'll hear it both with me as we recap the 90th edition of the Bowling Green versus Toledo in the Battle of I-75. Here's the losing coach, Jason Candle, on what happened this past Saturday at the Doit.
Tough outcome of that football game. Hats off to Bowling Green. Won a tough game today. Made a couple more plays than we did at the end. Obviously disappointed in our ability in the second half to complete and pick up third downs. Put ourselves in a hole oftentimes with penalties. I think cost us and put us behind the eight ball, and a lot of mistakes and self-inflicted things that we have to clean up and get off the tape if we're going to improve as a football team. That being said, I'll take your questions.
When you look at the way Bowling Green came back compared to the way Western Michigan came back, do you see any similarities in the way you guys finished?
Yeah, we lost both games.
Coach, how much does emotion play in a game like this?
Yeah, it's an emotional game all the way across the board. It's an emotional week. Obviously, a game that means a lot to both communities, and everybody puts a lot of time and energy into this. Not just the players and the coaches, everybody does. So, you want to win. You want to win for your fan base. You want to win for your locker room. You want to win for your program. Today, we didn't get it done.
Jason, how do you kind of explain these dramatic momentum shifts? When things are going great for you guys, it's great, and then when it's the other way, it doesn't seem like you guys maybe have the leadership to pull you guys out of this.
Yeah, we've got some soul searching to do as it comes to when things don't go our way. We're at times I'm not going to sit here and comment on penalties, but I don't know how many do we have. 13 of them or something like that. So I guess we're twice as undisciplined as Bowling Green is, I guess. That falls on me, so got to get it fixed.
Is this as tough of a loss as you've experienced with Toledo?
Don't rank them. I don't rank wins and don't rank losses.
How was their pressure in the second half able to really affect your offensive rhythm?
Well, we're starting drives inside the 20-yard line. You know what I mean? And we're making self-inflicted things that are putting you behind the sticks. And when you're consistently behind the sticks, it's hard to play rhythmic offensive football. And they know that. You know what I mean? So they I don't want to say pressure every play, but they challenge you every play. And credit to them. When they had you back against the wall, they didn't sit back and allow you to get out of there. They kept throwing punches, and it affected us a little bit.
How much of your game plan changed kind of last minute when you had a new quarterback playing for BG, and how did he really hurt you in the second half?
Nothing really changed as far as our preparation and our plan. They have used him enough to where you've got to prepare for him each and every game. And throughout the course of a football game, like that role could expand, and you have to plan that way. We got beat on some explosive plays, on some, trick play, a couple of long passes that, consistently moving the football down the field. They weren't able to do that. I mean, they had 225 total yards of offense, if I'm reading this correct. So, it wasn't consistently, methodically moving the ball. It got us on our heels a couple times. We got a pass interference call that aided them, got them down there a little bit, and then a couple, like I said, a couple of explosives got out of us. The one trick play obviously was a backbreaker.
Any other questions for Coach? Jason, the world is melting down around you guys, obviously. How do you kind of tune that out?
Well, I mean, I think that obviously you have to have enough humility to continue to tell yourself the truth on what it is that you have to improve on, whether you win the game or whether you lose the game. Like I said, it's not a want thing. Obviously, just, you want to win it for your community. You want to win it for your team. You want to win it for your locker room or university and everybody involved. And if it doesn't happen, or if it does happen, regardless, you have to be able to have enough humility, go watch the tape, fix the mistakes that are on there and address them and tell yourself the truth. And that's what we have to do, because there's another game next Saturday, and nobody's going to come save us and care about what just happened today.
Did you feel uncomfortable at any point in the season?
No.
How was their pressure in the second half really forcing some errant throws and just totally putting your offense behind the sticks?
And that was Jason Candle. They interviewed then Tucker Gleason afterwards. But I want to get into Eddie George's comments, of course. The winner of the Battle of I-75, Eddie George, coming to the stand.
Well, man, I'm just really proud of our boys. How we handled adversity. We talk a lot about, guts, our ethos, having faith, built for the 4-4, built for the 4 minutes of the fourth quarter. And I grind those kids, man, for moments like that, and it wasn't pretty. It was not pretty at all at the beginning, and you kind of think, like, man, are we in front of a sellout crowd, home crowd? Are we going to get boat raced here?
That's what I said.
But we settled down. We continued to believe. We stayed positive on the sidelines. And we had to overcome adversity. It's toughness through adversity. And I watched the team grow up today. I watched them evolve. I watched them come to life today. Because you gotta be able to win games like that. It wasn't pretty offensively, defensively. We couldn't figure it out in the first few quarters, but we settled down and we continued to chop wood and carry water, and we were able to chip away at it and find a way to win.
Just make sure you guys have all your wireless mics or anything turned off.
And here comes the question.
Just introduce yourself and give your name and media outlet before questions.
Coach, Michael Burrows at Toledo Blade. Just the fourth quarter to execute, just especially defensively, forcing those 2 turnovers, the strip sack leading to the touchdown. Like, what can you say just about the defensive effort, late in the game, and just especially that second half as well?
Well, it goes back to, again, to win games like this, like against a rival, it takes toughness and grit, and culture. And we talk about that. We talk about getting, being intentional about getting the ball out. We do it every single day. Ball security, getting the ball out, emphasize the punch the balls, rake the ball. Constantly trying to create those turnovers, and when it counts the most, that's when it showed up. We had to continue to harp on it. Coming off a bye week, for both teams, you tend to not have great ball security, so we were mindful of that during a bye week, and certainly this past week in our preparation, of just emphasizing punching at the ball, stripping the ball. You never know when it can come out, and that's what we were able to do. And in these games, the team that rushes the ball well wins the the rushing yards, and wins the turnover battle. They usually win the game, and I think we're +1 in that category. So it paid off for us.
Eddie, does RJ have any quarterback experience in his past?
I guess he does. Yes.
In high school, did he play quarterback at all? Or?
I have to ask him.
Okay. What went into that play? It's a play obviously we remembered in BG history. Can you also tell us what it's called?
Yeah. The name of the play is I'll get the name of the play. But we ran it last week for the first time. And it was based off of what we were able to do against Ohio when we ran the reverse. So RJ is an athlete, and he made a few passes during practice last week, some beautiful balls. And he's like, okay, we're going to have to dial this up. And we had it at the right time because we needed something in our passing game. And he threw a spiral on the money, and we may have to put him back at quarterback at some point in time because he was a nice tight ball.
Just the sea of students on the field afterwards, some of your seniors are crying. Can you just kind of take us to the emotion of when you're out on the field there at the end?
Yeah. It was, it was a hard-fought battle, and we knew it was going to be a bloodbath, and we knew it wasn't going to be easy. And our faith in everything was tested throughout the course of the game. And instead of getting down, we had, several 3-and-outs in the first half. Wow. Couldn't get the ball rolling. I think we had maybe 6 or 7 yards. Couldn't get across the 50. And I'm thinking, okay, how are we going to, just get a first down? It was tough. Lucian's first start, and he's limited to some degree, so we had to really pare down our play calling and the offensive game plan around his skill set, and they were prepared for that. So we knew we had to be patient. We had to take what was given to us. We couldn't get down on ourselves, and more importantly, we just had to keep each other up, knowing that, hey, somebody's going to make a play somewhere along the line. And it had to be a complete team effort, offense, defense, and special forces. It had to be that, and I think we did a good job of that.
Coach Carter Leonard, Falcon Media Sports Network. During the first half, we saw Toledo go through a lot of hurry-up offense that was kind of throwing the defense off a little bit. Just what did you tell your guys during the halftime, to make sure to contain that a little bit better?
Just settle down and trust your eyes. Oftentimes, you certainly during the early part of the year, a lot of those big plays came off of guys not trusting their eyes. The big, how they started off the game, he ran a post route, he catches the ball, and they got things rolling for him. And they kept us on our heels for a little bit. So, we've been in those situations before as far as, this defensive staff through my time at Tennessee State. And typically, that happens, out of a bye week, gave up 21-0, we're down. But we will settle down. Our eyes got better. Our habits started to show up, and we were able to hold them to 69 yards in the third quarter. So kudos to the defensive staff for making the proper adjustments. We were able to stop them on key third downs. I think they were 3 for 13 on third down, which was huge. So it gave us a chance to get back in the game. And when you have a young quarterback like that, it's going to take everybody to be on the same page to get it done.
And also, Lucian Anderson getting the start today, with the weight and pressure that this game has every single year, how do you think that he handled the ebbs and flows of today?
Man, he handled it like a champ. Coming in, Lucian had to battle just to get to the opportunity to be second string. And he never was down on himself. I could see him in the back, just kind of taking mental reps during the course of the week when Drew's in there, he's going over, because I tell him, you never know when your time's going to come. It's all about the power of the unit. And, we rallied around him. We knew he was going to get a start. We knew it was going to be a tough road, because in a game like this is tough. This is our toughest game of the year. Whether this game is played here or is played up in Toledo, it's going to be tough. So for him to take that on and not to get down or upset, he just stayed the course, and he didn't go into a tank. He just kept making plays, kept believing, kept trusting, and that just speaks to what these guys do day in and day out, to the culture that we've started to create here, and it's been strengthened by a win today.
Yes, and that was Eddie George. Of course, you heard Jason Candle before that. Of course, Bowling Green, the huge win this past weekend, beating the University of Toledo 28-23, improving their record to 3-3, and honestly keeping pace with the Mid-American Conference, because now you've interjected yourself now back into the Mid-American Conference championship game with this win. Sure, the Ohio loss was bad, but last week Ohio lost to Ball State, so it's open. It's open to anybody right now. You've got Western and Buffalo are the top two teams right now, but they have not played the thick meat part of their schedules in Mid-American Conference play. So it is still open when it comes to that. By the way, to recap, Gleason, 19 for 30, 264 yards passing, 1 TD, 1 interception. His QBR rating was a 39. Chip Train was the leading rusher. He had 27 carries for 125 yards, 1 TD. His longest run was 19 yards. Junior Vanderross, 6 catches, 100 yards. You had Jacob Peterson, 2 catches, 41 yards, 1 TD in the game. And for Bowling Green, there was Lucius Anderson, 9 for 26 for 92 yards, 2 TDs, 1 interception, QBR rating of a 47.3. RJ Garcia, 1 for 1, of course, for 73 yards, touchdown. Anderson was the leading rusher on yards. He had 10 carries for 32 yards, but Chris McMillan, 12 carries, 22 yards, 1 TD. Cameron Pettaway, 3 carries, 6 yards in the game. He was the leading receiver. He had 2 catches for 118 yards for 2 of the TDs in the game for Bowling Green. Jacob Harris, 1 catch, 8 yards, 1 TD in the game. You look at the team stats overall. Bowling Green was 2 for 12 on third down. Toledo 3 for 13 on third down. Both teams were over on the fourth down. Toledo 0 for 2. Bowling Green 0 for 1. Toledo had 429 yards of total offense in the game. 264 through the air, 165 on the ground. Bowling Green 226. 165 yards through the air, only 61 yards on the ground. And Bowling Green won the football game, came back from a 21-point deficit. 13 penalties, 109 yards for Toledo. Bowling Green, 7 penalties, 55 yards. Bowling Green, Toledo led in time of possession, 34 minutes and 8 seconds. So Bowling Green's 25 minutes, 52 seconds. Sold out crowd, 24,000 in attendance at Dwight Perry Stadium. Bowling Green with the huge win. Now, moving forward for both teams, Toledo will come back to the Glass Bowl. They will take on Kent State Saturday, 2 p.m. kickoff, ESPN+. Bowling Green continues their homestand. They now welcome in Central Michigan to the Dwight at noon on Saturday. That game on CBS Sports Network. So a huge game for that. And by the way, the community coming out again and supporting the Falcons. The east side of the stadium is sold out. Completely sold out. So the west side is the only available seats. That's where my season tickets are at. So get your tickets if you're coming down to this big game and seeing Eddie George, seeing Pudge the Cat, rooting for Bowling Green as his family weekend. So it's huge. And the questions are coming out, of course, about Jason Candle. Now, I don't have any bad ill will on Jason Candle and anything like that. But after the game, I got a chance to see Brian Blair, who is the AD for Toledo, and he was visibly upset about this game. Very, very upset about it. He was talking to some of the I don't know who they were on the sideline, but they were a little high end. I will tell you that much. And You could tell that the voice and the face of concern was with Brian in that game after the game, and I think he's on a hot string right now. He's on a high string right now, and if they lose to Kent State, which by the way, Toledo's a 26.5-point favorite against Kent State. If they lost to Kent State, there'll be no question. The question is that he's going to get fired. And I've been hearing this for so many times. This is again the second game where he has collapsed this season. He has folded under the pressure. This one was much worse than the Kalamazoo game a couple of weeks ago when they were in Kalamazoo up 10-0 in the game, and they lose the football game 14-10 to Western Michigan to get their first loss in MAC play. This was much of a bad credit. And Dave Briggs, I got to give Dave Briggs credit on this game too. He came out with a report card after the end of the game. It was in the Sunday paper. He gave Bowling Green an A minus. I agree with him on that standpoint where the program's headed, and he gave Toledo an F. The ceiling has fallen for Toledo. And yet again, they find a way to choke under the big pressure. So Bowling Green will play Central Michigan this Saturday. And now, as Bowling Green fans, of course, we get 365 more days with the championship trophy. We don't know yet when they'll play Toledo again at the Glass Bowl. We could be playing them again in Detroit for the MAC championship. We don't know. But what we do know is this. All is right in the world when Bowling Green wins the Battle of I-75. And it's all right in the world with me. And I have been on cloud nine ever since. I still can't believe it. We came back from that 21-point deficit to beat the University of Toledo 28-23. And I lost my voice at the game too. I was chanting and cheering and hooting and hollering the entire time. So we'll see what happens. Other games also in the Mid-American Conference this past weekend. To recap from week 7 in college football, besides the Toledo being beat by Bowling Green 28-23, Miami of Ohio winner 20-7 over Akron, Eastern a 16-10 win over Northern Illinois, Kent State a 42-6 win over UMass, Western shutting out Ball State 42-0. Top 25 from week 7 of college football looked like this. It was South Florida, a 63-36 win over North Texas. Ohio State continues their route as they get the big win on Big Noon, 34-16. Notre Dame, a huge win over NC State, 36-7. Alabama, a 27-24 win over Missouri. Pitt beats 25th ranked Florida State, 34-31. Ole Miss, a 24-21 win over Washington State. Indiana goes out to Eugene and slaps the Ducks, 30-20. In the Red River shootout at the Texas State Fair, Texas a winner 23-6 over Oklahoma. Georgia Tech a 35-20 win over Virginia Tech. Colorado upsets 22nd ranked Iowa State 24-17. Tennessee in Rocky Top gets the win by a slim margin over Arkansas 34-31. Texas A&M a 34-17 win over Florida. Texas Tech 42, Kansas 17. It was Georgia winner over Auburn 20-10. Michigan traveled across the country, and Bryce Underwood just looked terrible in the game. As the Trojans of USC, a big 31-13 win over Michigan. LSU a 20-10 win over South Carolina. BYU has to get to double overtime to beat Arizona 33-27, and Utah upsets 21st ranked Arizona State 42-10. You look at the rest of the Big Ten games also, by the way, by chance. Besides those other games I mentioned, it was Rutgers falling to Washington 38-19. Michigan State loses to UCLA 38-13. UCLA coming off the upset win over Penn State beats Michigan State 38-13. Iowa shuts out Wisconsin 37-0. Nebraska 34-31 win over Maryland. Minnesota a 27-20 win over Purdue, and Northwestern beats Penn State 22-21. And in the aftermath of that game, James Franklin is now no longer the head coach of the Nittany Lions of Penn State. And I talked to my friend Zach, who watches this podcast, and he knew that he needed to go. He knew he needed to go after 3 consecutive losses to Oregon, UCLA at UCLA, and Northwestern. James needed to go. He needed to go, and that was the case. So that was week 7 in college football. It's now time for week 8. Of course, the top 25 standings are out as follows. Of course, the number 1 ranked team is still the Ohio State Buckeyes at a perfect record right now of 6-0. Miami, Florida is second at 5-0. Iowa third at 6-0. Texas A&M 6-0. Ole Miss 6-0 as in the top 5. Then you have Alabama, Texas Tech, Oregon with the loss drops 5 spots to 8. Georgia is 9th. LSU 10. Tennessee 11th. Georgia Tech 12th. Notre Dame with their 2 losses is now 13th ranked in the country. Oklahoma 14, BYU 15, Missouri 16th, Vanderbilt 17th, Virginia 18th. The Brahma Bulls of South Florida is 19th ranked in the country. The USC Trojans 20th ranked. Texas is 21st, Memphis 22nd, Utah 23rd, Cincinnati 24th, and Nebraska is 25th. And that is the top 25 standings. So now let's take a look at the games this week in the top 25, as well as the cards for yours truly for this week 8 in college football. Remember, if you're going to bet responsibly. If you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit gamblingproblem.org for information on and resources to help with the situation. And remember, we use all our bets through ESPN Bets. So sign up today by going to espnbet.com, and you can use our link to refer a friend. Of course, top 25 looks like this. Louisville 4-1 overall will head down to Miami, Florida. Friday night, 7 o'clock kickoff on ESPN. Miami a 13.5-point favorite. I have the Hurricanes of Miami in that game. You also have, of course, LSU 10th ranked in the country travels to Vanderbilt. Noon kickoff on ABC. Vandy a 2.5-point favorite as of right now, as we take this podcast on the 15th of October. I'm taking Vandy in the game. Georgia Tech goes down to Duke to take on the Duke Blue Devils. Duke a 1.5-point favorite. I'm just going to take Georgia Tech in the game on that one. 14th ranked Oklahoma travels to South Carolina. Oklahoma 5.5-point favorite. 12:45 kick on SEC Network. I'm going to take Oklahoma in that one. 4th ranked Texas A&M travels to Arkansas to battle the Razorbacks. That game a 3:30 kick on ESPN. A&M a 7.5-point favorite. I'm going to take Texas A&M in that one. 3:30 kickoff sees Ole Miss, 5th ranked in the country, taking on the 9th ranked Georgia Bulldogs. Georgia 7.5-point favorite in the game. 3:30 kick on ABC. I'm actually going to take Ole Miss in this game. I think Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin's got his team going right at the right time. I think it's a possibility that could be one of the upsets of the day, and Georgia getting their 2nd loss this season. 7th ranked Texas Tech travels to Arizona to take on the Sun Devils. Texas Tech 7.5-point favorites. I'm going to take Texas Tech in that game. 22nd ranked Memphis 6-0 goes to UAB, who fired Trent Dilfer, who's their head coach. Memphis 22.5-point favorite, taking Memphis easily on that one. Washington State travels to Virginia. 6:30 kick on CW Network. Virginia 17.5-point favorite. I'm going to take Virginia in that game. 21st ranked Texas travels to Kentucky. 7 o'clock kick on ESPN. Texas 12.5-point favorite. I'm going to take Texas in the game. The Saturday night game on ABC will feature the 11th ranked Tennessee Volunteers, 5-1, traveling down to Alabama. The Crimson Tide roll tide. Bama 7.5-point favorite in this game. I am going to take Alabama game. I think it's going to be close, though. I think Tennessee could possibly get this game. 19th ranked South Florida takes on FAU, Florida Atlantic University. 7:30 kick. South Florida is 21.5-point favorite. I'm going to take the Brahma Bulls of South Florida. 16th ranked Missouri, 5-1 overall, takes on Auburn, who's 3-3. Missouri, a 1.5-point favorite. I'm going to take Missouri to beat Auburn. The Civil War is what they call it. The battle as 23rd ranked Utah goes out to BYU. 8 o'clock kick on Fox. BYU 6-0, Utah 5-1. Utah 3.5 point favorite. I'm going to actually take Utah in that game. And then 24th ranked Cincinnati takes on Oklahoma State. Cincinnati 21.5 point favorite. 8 o'clock kick on ESPN2. I'm going to take Cincinnati in the game. But the big game, of course, one of the big games that are going to be happening this weekend is, of course, as we get into the Big Ten slate, of course, at 3:30 on CBS, number 1 ranked Ohio State travels to Wisconsin. Ohio State, a 25.5 point favorite. I'm going to take the Buckeyes to beat Wisconsin in the game. And then, of course, 7:30 kickoff on NBC and Peacock. The 20th ranked USC Trojans head into South Bend, Indiana to take on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. The Irish, a 9.5 point favorite in this game. I'm definitely hammering the Irish in this one. I am hammering the Irish hard in this game. Nebraska on Friday night will take on Minnesota. 8 o'clock kick on Fox. Nebraska, 8.5 point favorite. I'm going to take Nebraska in that game. Washington will travel across the country, and they will head to the big house with the big noon kickoff against the Michigan Wolverines. Michigan, 6.5 point favorites in this game. I'm going to take the Huskies. The Huskies played pretty tough against Ohio State, only putting up 7 points. But I think that they are coming across the country, getting the opportunity. I think that they could pull the upset. I have Washington beating the Michigan Wolverines. Purdue 2-4 heads into Northwestern. Northwestern 3.5 point favorite in the game. I'm taking Northwestern. Third ranked Indiana welcomes in Michigan State. 3:30 kick on the Peacock Network. Indiana 27.5 point favorite. The Spartans are led to slaughter. I'm gonna take Signetti in the Hoosiers. 8th ranked Oregon heads to New Jersey to take on the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Oregon 17.5 point favorite in this game. I'm going to take Oregon in this game. And then Penn State without James Franklin, the first game without Franklin. 3-3 takes on Iowa, who is 4-2. Iowa, a 2.5 point favorite. 7 o'clock kick on Peacock. I'm going to take the Hawkeyes in that one. And then at 7 o'clock on FS1, 4-2 Maryland travels out to UCLA. UCLA, a 3.5 point favorite. I'm going to take the Terps in Maryland. I'm going to take that. Scott Van Pelt. I'm going to take that game as well. So then that leads us to the Mid-American Conference games, of course. Besides the two big ones, we'll get to here in a second, Miami of Ohio hosts Eastern Michigan. Miami of Ohio, 13.5 point favorite. That game at noon on ESPN+. I'm going to take the Red Hawks in that one. Buffalo, 3-3 overall, heads up to UMass to take on the Minutemen. Buffalo, 16.5 point favorite. 2:30 kick on ESPN+. I think the Buffalo Bulls, I think they're going to take it down. They're going to take it down. Ball State hosts Akron. Ball State 1.5 point favorite. 3:30 kickoff on ESPN+. I'm going to take Ball State in a game. And then the final game, 3:30, besides the two local matchups, Ohio 3-3 overall takes on 1-5 Northern Illinois. Ohio, a 10.5 point favorite. 3:30 kick on ESPN+. I'm going to take the Bobcats in that game, which leads us to the local games. We'll first start with the University of Toledo Rockets. Rockets 3-3 overall take on the Kent State Golden Flashes. 2 o'clock kick at the Glass Bowl. Toledo 26.5 point favorite in this game. I'm going to take Toledo in this game for a bounce back. I'm hoping that they bounce back on this game. And then you have the noon kickoff on Saturday on CBS Sports Network. 3-3 Central Michigan takes on our Bowling Green State University Falcons. Noon kick, Bowling Green, a 4.5 point favorite. It's been between 4.5 and 5.5 for the last couple hours, actually. It's been floating back and forth. I'm going to take Bowling Green to win this game. By the way, if you're looking wise, for me, I always look for the over-under in this game and how many points. It's setting up right now at 42.5. So we'll see if that's going to be what that is. If you put the money line right now, Bowling Green is a minus 190 on the money line. Central Michigan at plus 160. The spread is 4.5 to 5.5 right now between the two teams. So there is that. That is week 8 in college football. As you're watching and listening to All Andy Alfred tonight right here on the All Andy Alfred Podcast Network. Whether it be on Apple Music, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Bleaker, however you're listening to us tonight, wherever. and whenever you're listening to us. Thank you so much for tuning in. Of course, now let's dive a little bit more into football. Of course, we did a long spiel on college football tonight. And I know we got a half hour still left of programming right here on All Andy Alfred, but let's dive into the National Football League. And of course, last week, the Lions on Sunday night go into Kansas City, and that bimbo is up there with Caitlin Clark in her first game for the season. And of course, NBC showed her 2.5 times, so if you had the over of 2, you got it. They showed her 3 times in the game on Sunday night. But Mahomes, this was a must-win for Kansas City, and I knew that when I heard must-win, it was not going to be looking pretty for the Lions. The Lions jumping out, trying to get out to the early lead. They did get out to the early lead with a field goal, but then you can't give Mahomes time to go down the field and score a touchdown right before the end of the first period. And it was 6-3 Kansas City after 1 quarter of play. Of course, the field goal was missed by Harrison Butker. It's 6-3. Detroit then went down the field in the second quarter. Jameson Williams gets the pass from Jared Goff for 22 yards for the touchdown. Detroit is up 10-6 over the Kansas City Chiefs. And then you have, right at the end of the break, Mahomes gets the 1-yard run in for the touchdown on their 8-play, 55-yard drive that sees them getting into the end zone. It's 13-10 at the break. Kansas City got the ball to start the second half. They went right down the field and scored from Hollywood Brown. It's 20-10 into the third quarter. We get into the fourth quarter. Sam Laporta gets the pass to Jared Goff. It's 20-17, and that's as close as Detroit got in the game, as it was then 2 consecutive touchdowns by Kansas City in the game, and a touchdown by Hollywood Brown made it 27-17, and then Butker kicks the field goal with 2 minutes and change to go in the fourth quarter. Detroit tries to drive it down the field, can't connect, and Detroit falls to Kansas City by the score of 30-17. Goff, 23 for 29, 2 TDs for 203 yards passing. Mahomes, 22 for 30, 3 touchdowns, 257 through the air. Jahmyr Gibbs was the leading rusher for 17 carries for 65 yards. Pachenko, 12 carries, 51 yards in the game. Williams had 6 catches for 66 yards, 1 TD. Douchebag Travis Kelce, 6 catches for 78 yards in the game. Anzalone had 12 tackles. Connors had 14 tackles in the game. And Detroit had 297 yards of total offense to Kansas City's 355. Kansas City had 26 first downs to Detroit's 18. Detroit had 4 penalties for 38 yards. Kansas City had no penalties. 0 penalties in the game. Detroit 5 for 11 on third down. Kansas City 4 for 10. Kansas City 2 for 3 on fourth down. Detroit 0 for 2. Detroit was 1 for 2 in the red zone. Kansas City 4 for 6 in the end zone. With the loss, Detroit goes to 4-2. Kansas City with the win goes to 3-3 overall. But the big story out of this was the scuffle at the end of the game that took place. And Brian Branch, it will be out Monday after he was caught with fighting with Juju Smith-Schuster. He's ruled out for the game on Monday, as the league is upholding his 1-game suspension on the fight that took place at the end of the game. So overall, I was looking at the schedule, and there are doable wins for Detroit. Now you have this game on Monday night against Tampa. It's a huge game now, as it's the 5-1 Buccaneers versus the 4-2 Lions. It's a huge game. It's at Ford Field. Detroit's a 5.5-point favorite in this game, and I'll get to my predictions here in just a second. But it's a must-win for Detroit now to keep pace in the division, as well as to keep pace in the AFC. They're a wild card team as of right now, and then the stretches for Detroit is hard. You have Tampa, then you're at home against Minnesota, then you go to Washington and go to Philadelphia before you come back home to play the Giants. It's a tough sled. And then it's like I said, it's then it's the Giants, and then it's Thanksgiving Day, and it's Green Bay. So, yeah, it's a tough sled for Detroit. I'll tell you what, it's not a tough sled, and that's the Browns. Oh, Browns. After trading Joe Flacco to the Bengals, Dylan Gabriel becomes your starting quarterback. And they have gone into Pittsburgh this week and only put up a single digit, 9 points, 3 field goals against Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Showed his dominance in the game. I'm not even going to recap it. Gabriel, 29 for 52 for 221 yards. Junkins, 12 carries for 36 yards. Harold Fanning, 7 catches for 81 yards. It's great to see Harold getting the reps. And he got a touchdown last week in London. He could have done it the week before against Detroit. That would have been awesome. But Rodgers, 21 for 30 for 2 TDs, 235 yards passing. Warren, 52 yards out of 11 carries. DK Metcalf, 4 catches, 95 yards, 1 TD in the game. Browns had 248 yards of total offense to the Steelers, 335. Got to give credit. No turnovers. No turnovers in the game. Browns had 20 first downs to the Pittsburgh's 19. Browns had 6 penalties for 44 yards. The Steelers, 10 penalties for 59 yards. The Browns, 6 for 17 on third down. The Steelers, 5 for 13 on third down. The Browns, 2 for 4 on fourth down. Pittsburgh did not convert on the fourth down. Browns 0 for 3 in the red zone. Steelers were 1 for 1. With the win, Pittsburgh improves to 4-1. With the loss, the Browns go to 1-5. It doesn't get easier for the Browns. They got the Dolphins. And for the first time in a long time, the Browns are favored. And the big thing, though, about the Browns this year is that they have not gotten to 20 or more points this year. Opening game against the Bengals, they lost 17-16. Against the Ravens the next week, they lost 41-17. They won against Green Bay, but that was 13 points, 13-10. Gets shellacked by my Lions, 34-10. Lose to the Vikings at the gun, 21-17. And this week losing 23-9. Can they get to 20 points? It's possible. Now they're 1-5. The Dolphins are 1-5. Someone's going to get fired out of this game. Is it going to be Mike McDaniels? Or is it going to be Kevin Stefanski? And by the way, it's going to be a rainy, cold day in Cleveland on Sunday. A rainy, cold day. Pack the poncho, Logan. Pack the poncho. Now let's recap the rest of Week 6. in the National Football League. We start first and foremost with Thursday Night Football as the Jackson Darts threw the darts and beats the Super Bowl champions 34-17. The G-Men beat the Super Bowl champions. In jolly old London, it was the Denver Broncos, led by Bo Nix, who take down the Jets 13-10. The Jets are winless so far this year. Now you look at the rest of the games in the States. The Chargers are a winner 29-27 over the Dolphins. You got the Patriots a 25-19 win over the Saints. The Ravens, without Lamar Jackson, are just an average football team. They're about as bad as the Saints. Rams shellac them 17-3. The Colts a big win, 31-27. The Seahawks a 20-12 win over Jacksonville. The big one for me. Carolina beats the Dallas Cowboys. How y'all doing? Beats them at the gun 30-27. Raiders a 20-10 win over the Titans. It was Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Bucks, a winner 30-19 over the San Francisco 49ers. Jordan Love and the Packers, a big 27-18 win over the Bengals. And then, of course, you had the Lions lose to Kansas City on Sunday Night Football 30-17. The Browns lose to Pittsburgh 23-9. Monday night had two great games. The upset, of course, Buffalo goes into Atlanta, and Atlanta with Michael Penix Jr. and crew just absolutely stunned Josh Allen and the Bills 24-14. And then at the gun in the PFT Bowl, it was the Bears with Big Cats Bears getting the game-winning field goal by Jake Moody, a 25-24 win over the Commanders. And with that all in mind, Week 6 of the National Football League has concluded. We now move into Week 7 in the National Football League. And we start with Thursday Night Football, as it will be the Icy Hot Bowl, as it is the Pittsburgh Steelers, 4-1 overall, taking on the lonely Cincinnati Bengals, who are 2-4. Pittsburgh 4.5-point favorite. I'm going to take Pittsburgh to beat Cincinnati in the game. Now we get to the Sunday games. Their first London. We have a London game, of course, this week, as the LA Rams, led by Matthew Stafford, 4-2 overall, takes on the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are 4-2 overall. LA 3.5-point favorite in this game. I'm going to take the Rams to beat the Jaguars. Then we get into the rest of the Sunday afternoon slate. The Chiefs will have a rare 1 o'clock game on CBS as they take on the Las Vegas Raiders. Kansas City 12.5-point favorite in this game. I'm going to take the Chiefs in this game. The Patriots of New England will head down to Tennessee. Patriots 4-2. The Titans 1-5. Patriots a 6.5-point favorite. I am taking the Patriots, and I think that they'll cover that 6.5 -6.5. Carolina 3-3 overall takes on Aaron Glenn and the New York Jets. The Jets looking for their first win. Carolina 1.5-point favorite in this game. I'm going to take the Panthers to beat the Jets in this one. 1 o'clock kick at Soldier Field sees Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears taking on the New Orleans Saints. Bears 3-2, Saints 1-5. The Bears are a 4.5-point favorite. I'm going to take Chicago in the game. 1 o'clock kick sees the Minnesota Vikings 3-2 overall taking on the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles in Minnesota. Philly a 1.5-point favorite in this game. I'm going to take Philly to bounce back after the Thursday night collapse in the Meadowlands for that one. Then that leads to the other 1 o'clock game on the lake. The Dolphins 1-5 will take on the Cleveland Browns, who are 1-5. Loser of this game, the coach is getting fired. I'm just going to put that out there. I think either it's Mike McDaniel's last game or it could be Kevin Stefanski's last game. Browns 2.5-point favorite in this game. I'm going to take Cleveland, and I think Mike McDaniels is going to get fired out of this game. Then we get into the 4 o'clock kicks, of course. Indianapolis travels out to LA to SoFi to take on the Chargers. Chargers 1.5-point favorite of the game. 4:05 kick on CBS. I'm going to take the Chargers in this one. The New York Football Giants, the G-Men, who are 2-4, coming off the big win over the Eagles, will take on the Denver Broncos. Danny Facer's Denver Broncos. Denver 4-2. Denver a 7.5-point favorite. I'm going to take the Broncos in this game. Green Bay travels to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. Green Bay 3-1-1. The Cardinals 2-4. Green Bay 6.5-point favorite. I'm going to take the Packers in that one. The Sunday America's Game of the Week will see Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders heading into Jerry World to take on Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas 2-3-1. The Commanders 3-3. Washington a 1.5-point favorite in the game. 4:25 kick on Fox. I'm going to take Washington to take that one. That leads to Sunday Night Football as Michael Penix and the Atlanta Falcons head into San Francisco to take on the 49ers. Niners 2.5-point favorite in the game. I'm going to take San Francisco in this one, but I wouldn't be surprised if Atlanta pulls the upset in that one. And then there is 2 Monday night games this upcoming week as Seattle 4-2 overall will host the C.J. Stroud and the Texans. Seattle 3.5-point favorite, 10 o'clock kick on ESPN. I'm going to take Seattle in that one. And then Monday night, Troy Aikman, Joe Buck from Ford Field as the 5-1 Tampa Bay Buccaneers take on the 4-2 Detroit Lions. The Lions 5.5-point favorite in this game. 7 o'clock kick. Give me the Lions. Give me the Lions. And that. So that is our preview And remember to please bet responsibly. Gambling problem, visit gamblingaddiction.org or call 1-866-HOPE, 1-866-GAMBLER. That's 1-866-GAMBLER for all your gambling help, addiction help. When it comes to that, remember, please play responsibly. As you are watching and listening to All Andy Alfred tonight right here on the All Andy Alfred Podcast Network, whether it be on Apple Music, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Bleaker, however you're listening to us tonight, wherever and whenever you're listening to us, thank you so much for tuning in. And let's hit the ice a little bit. Let's talk a little hockey, of course, before we talk a little recap a little baseball really, really quickly. By the way, this Pepsi right here was from Comerica Park. I took this Pepsi from Comerica Park. I was invited by my sister's husband, who works as a engineer for one of the companies up in Detroit. They had a suite, and they said to take everything out as you can because they're going to bring in a new group, clean it out. So I took the can of Pepsi. I was saving this Pepsi for if the Tigers would win the World Series. They lose to Seattle. Season's done. We'll go more in depth with the Tigers in next week's episode of All Andy Alfred. I need some time to process this. But there is no time to process as the National Hockey League is underway. The Jackets were in action on Monday night. They took on the New Jersey Devils in the home opener and fall to the Devils 3-2. They won on Saturday in Minnesota. A big game for the Jackets. They get a big win on Saturday, 7-4 over Minnesota. The season started Thursday and lost in Nashville. So the Jackets are 1-2-0 to start the season, and they will get back on the ice tomorrow night as they take on the Colorado Avalanche. Avalanche 3-0-1 with 7 points. Columbus having 2 points so far. 7 o'clock game on FanDuel Sports Network in Columbus, as well as on altitude as well. It's early. I like what I'm seeing so far with this Jacket team. I like the performance that they put out against Minnesota. They played very, very well against New Jersey. Just had a couple bad breaks. Jet Greaves was in the net. Elvis will probably get the start tomorrow against Colorado. Jackets have Colorado. Then Saturday they welcome in Tampa for the big game. 7 o'clock drop for that one. And then they will then hit the road, I believe, on Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday against Dallas. And then they will play again on Friday night at home against the Capitals. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with the season. It's going to be an interesting run for the Jackets this year. Do I see them getting into the postseason? Possibly. I think if you look at what the season is entailing, I think the Jackets have a good chance to get a wild card spot. And with the addition of Charlie Coyle and with the young talent that we have, I think it's really going to help us out. I really think it's going to help us out, and I think the Jackets could be a surprise in the National Hockey League this upcoming year. So there is that. Of course, like I mentioned before, the Tigers falling to the Mariners. We've got a game going on right now as we speak. It's all Blue Jays in Game 3 in Seattle. The Jays up 12-2, bottom of the eighth inning on FS1. Of course, the Dodgers and the Brewers will resume their action tomorrow in Chavez Ravine, 6:08, as the Dodgers are up 2-0 on the Brewers. The Blue Jays will take on the Mariners at 8:33 on FS1 for that game tomorrow for game 4, but it looks like the Blue Jays are going to take Game 3 of this series right as they're leading right now, bottom of the eighth inning, 12-2 in that realm. Of course, the Walleye were in action as they'll start their season this upcoming weekend. they'll head to Indianapolis to take on the Indy Fuel. But this past Friday night, got an opportunity to head down to the Huntington Center to sit with our good friend Wes Carr, as well as our good friend Logan Carr and Phil Bennett. Got an opportunity to sit with four of us, got this chance to sit and take in the first preseason game. Like what I see with the Walleye this year. I think Riley McCourt coming back with the team is going to be very, very key for them. Goaltending is going to be the situation. Gylander is going to be the number one for right now, but they do have a goalie from Cleveland that's going to get some time play in Lalone. I like him. He was very, very good last year when he was between Kalamazoo and I forget the other team. I think maybe Fort Wayne, if I'm not mistaken. But this kid is gonna be very, very good for Toledo. I mean, do I see us making the postseason? Yeah. Do I like that Jalen Smerrick decided to jump ship and go to Fort Wayne? I don't like that. So now he's become public enemy number one this upcoming year. And by the way, looking at it really quickly, wish I would have pulled it up before I came on the air with you guys. Like I said, they open up in Indy on Saturday. They'll go to Indy, and then the following week they'll play Bloomington for 2 straight nights. And then Saturday, November 1st, they welcome the Indy Fuel in to the Huntington Center for Game 1 at the Huntington Center before going back on the road to take on Kalamazoo on the 7th. And it's a home and home the 7th and 8th against Kalamazoo. And then Sunday, the 9th, they welcome in the Iowa Heartlanders in the game. Really quickly, if you're wondering, when they play Fort Wayne first, Saturday, November 15th, circle the date, the return of Jalen Smerrick back to the Huntington Center. Get your tickets now. Get your tickets now for that game. And boo him. Give him the standing ovation when they announce him, but then boo him. Boo him. Plain and simple. So there's that. Of course, like I mentioned before, we'll be back on the air on Friday night for a special Facebook Live edition of All Andy Alfred to preview some more of the BG Central Michigan game. Also go again over my card and go over what we've seen so far on the diamond, as well as what's happening on the diamond, as well as what happened on Thursday Night Football. Again, to recap, I have Pittsburgh beating Cincinnati in the Thursday night game, Detroit beating Tampa on Monday Night Football, the Browns beating the Dolphins on the local teams in the NFL. I have Bowling Green beating Central Michigan, Toledo beating Kent State. I have Ohio State beating Wisconsin, Washington beating Michigan, and Notre Dame beating USC this week in the college football spectrum. So until I talk to you guys on Friday, like I said, there is no Andy Rants tonight, with it being a long episode to recap the Battle of I-75. I can't believe Bowling Green won and beat University of Toledo 28-23. So it was a great day and a great win. Bowling Green, stand up, be proud. You are the kings in the Battle of I-75. So until I talk to you guys on Friday night for our Falcon Friday edition of All Andy Alfred, this is Andy Alfred saying I'm pulling for you. We're all in this together. The game of life. Keep your stick on the ice. And to the teams you root for at home, there's that scorecard. And to my teams as well. Go Jackets! Beat the Avalanche. Go Walleye. Take down the Fuel. Go Tigers. Guards. Go Reds. Go Hens. And go Falcons. Beat the Chips. Go Falcons. Beat Windsor in the exhibition game. And more birdies and less bogeys. Because victory is sweetest when you have tasted defeat. Have a great night, everybody. I'll talk to you guys Friday night for our special Falcon Friday edition of all Andy Alfred. We now leave you with the alma mater of the Bowling Green State University. Love you. Talk to you guys on Friday. Alma mater, hear us as we praise thy name. Make us worthy sons and daughters, adding to thy fame. Shine will treat you kindly. Years from now you'll be ever dearly in our hearts, our university. From the halls of ivy to the campus scene, chimes ring out with gladness for our dear Bowling Green. Yeah, it's all a memory of the bygone days, Hear our hymn, dear alma mater, as thy name we praise. See you Friday on All Andy Alfred.